Good evening. My name is Dee DeShawn, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Ann Arbor chapter. I welcome you to tonight's forum featuring the Republican candidates for the State House of Representatives, District 55. These candidates will be on the ballot in the primary election on Tuesday, August 7th. We are broadcasting this evening from the studios of the CTN in Ann Arbor. The League of Women Voters is pleased to be sponsoring these forums. The League is a nonpartisan, grassroots organization that does not support candidates or parties, but does take stands on issues that we have studied. One of the League's important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls, and thus we bring you tonight's program. Volunteers from the League of Women Voters are facilitating tonight's forum. Our moderator for this evening is Dharma Ackman, who will explain the process from here. Dharma.
Thank you. There are 3 Republican candidates for the State House of Representatives, District 55. There is 1 seat available. The 3 candidates are Neha Todd, Bill Boring, and Bob Baird. 2 of the candidates were unable to make it tonight, and so we are joined only by Neha Todd. The candidate will have 1.5 minutes to give the opening statement and then 1.5 minutes to give the closing statement. Please use your opening and closing statements as opportunities to provide voters with your views on the issues. Since we only have 1 candidate, I don't need to talk about the order of speaking, but otherwise the format is as follows. I will ask questions which came from the community and a committee of League members. The candidate has up to 90 seconds for a response. At appropriate times, the timers will hold up their paddles with the amount of time remaining and then a stop sign. Please stop when indicated so that we wrap up in time. Our timers are League members Betty Bishop and Laura Mountcastle, and we're ready for your opening statement.
Thank you. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for hosting today and for all the job that you do to getting the vote out and for the opportunity to do it in a educated, informed way for all the voters. My name is Neha Todd. I am an immigrant. I came to America in 1983 as a 17-year-old. I went to high school for 1 year and then attended the University of Michigan for 8 years, getting a bachelor's in international studies, a doctor of pharmacy, and devoted many years of my life working in the healthcare profession. At one point, I chose to start a business as a small community pharmacy, and that gave me the opportunity to see how easy or not so easy it is to open a business. And my goal is to try and improve the lives of business owners, residents and citizens of this great state. And yeah, that's my impetus for running for House of Representatives seat, District 55.
Thank you. We'll move on to our first question. What are your top 2 priorities, and why are these issues on the top of your list?
So my top 2 priorities would be the economy and taxes, and the second one would be education. And for taxes and economy, I feel that the state of Michigan is one of the highest tax states in the country, and I think we need to change that and focus on incentivizing the state also to provide jobs in the green, environmental friendly green industry. I think education is very important because that's what lifted me up from really not having anything to achieving the American dream. But the focus to me is personal freedom, and that's why I'm running as a Republican, because I think we come first, the citizens and people, and we should be able to make educated choice and decide on what is best for us. And we should be able to choose who represents us in the government and have the government work to improve our lives and not the other way around.
Okay, thank you. The next question. The public infrastructure in Michigan has been underfunded for decades. The state needs to come up with at least $4 billion more each year for decades for upkeep of roads, bridges, water systems, and communications infrastructure. How do you plan to address this issue?
It's not an easy issue to address because the infrastructure in the state has been aging and crumbling for a long time. I think there is a lot of money that is being thrown at it year after year, and taxes have been raised since I came to the state. A lot of money has been thrown. I do feel that we need to collaborate and do a smart way of addressing this problem, meaning it's not just about raising money, but also how are we spending the money that we're raising. The state is fortunate to have some amazing universities and brain power, one here in Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan, and I think we should focus on finding better material, better plans, long-term plans on fixing these issues and not just short-term solutions. I think the roads are an issue, but so is our electricity infrastructure, for example. The water lines, there's a lot of problem with lead, but that problem is not just in Flint. It also happens to be a big issue in Detroit, Grand Rapids, all over the state, and we do need to work with the DEQ also to find ways that helps the residents.
Okay, the next question. Environmental issues, especially the dioxane plume in the local aquifer and the statewide concern regarding Line 5, are important to many Ann Arbor residents. Do you plan to introduce or support legislation that would strengthen environmental protections? What do you think is the best role for the MDEQ to play in our environmental concerns?
I think the MDEQ has an important role to play. However, I feel that there are a lot of rules and regulations out there already that have not been properly enforced. The monitoring has been extremely lax, and there's no transparency and accountability on what's going on and where the money's going and how things are being enforced. I'm also a big proponent of green jobs and incentivizing businesses and citizens to investing without having to be penalized by a taxation of, let's say, if a resident of Ann Arbor wants to put solar panels on their home, now the city wants to tax that. To me, that is not being pro-green at all, and I would change some of the laws to incentivize personal and business investment in ensuring that this great state of Michigan stays green and healthy for air quality monitoring, water monitoring, and I am for closing down the Enbridge Line 5, and then I'm against the fracking, and more transparency and accountability also is very important to me.
Okay, thank you. The next question. Statutory state revenue sharing, a source of revenue for local communities, has declined significantly since 2002. Further, state law limits the kind of revenue-generating tools that municipalities can use, such as local sales tax. What systemic changes would you support to ensure local communities are adequately funded?
Well, I'm not aware of the state laws as far as funding local communities, but I do believe that it is important for the citizens of said community to decide individually by a vote. You go to vote and you decide if you want to support a tax that goes towards a specific project. And the problem is that we are passing all these taxes that are meant for example, mental health care in the county, and yet that tax, is being used, the money towards the police, and then some money is diverted to other causes. So I think that until we have a more transparent and accountable government, we need to give the people a vote and allow them to express their needs and desires per township or city individually.
Okay. In 1992, voters approved a constitutional amendment setting term limits. The idea was to provide a sensible check on politicians wielding undue power and influence for decades. What is your view on the impact of term limits in the state legislature, and would you support a constitutional amendment to make term limits less strict?
I think that the term limits are important to have because I feel that a country and a society can only grow if you get new ideas and a new outlook on solutions, and it gives people who are non-politicians like myself a chance to be elected. And so I think until there's a lot of money that's going into politics these days, and it has a lot of power in maintaining the status quo. So I do support term limits.
Okay, thank you. Next question is, only 29% of our 4th and 8th grade students are at or above reading or math proficiency. What are the most significant changes in K-12 education that you believe would help improve the rank of Michigan schools relative to other states?
Well, having grown up in Romania, where I went through a different school system, and math and science were my strong points. And I appreciate, it was a math teacher, who actually inspired me and made that subject a joy for me to learn. And when I came to America, I realized that I was 3 to 4 years advanced over the students that were studying I came here as a high school, 12th grade, and even with my limited English, I was able to out-test a lot of the students. And the reason is not that we had more money, as it's always saying, oh, tax more and throw more money at the problem. It is that we had a teacher who had the support of the community and who had a job that I think paid her well enough that she was able to teach and not worry about how are my children testing, do I need to teach to testing. There's a lot wrong with the education system as it stands. There are too many rules from the federal government down, and I think 90 seconds is not going to address it, but I would start with less administration and more focus on education and giving the teacher that power.
Okay. I think we have just time for your closing statement. If you're ready to give it, you have 90 seconds.
Thank you again, ladies at the League of Women Voters, for having me over today. As I said, I'm an immigrant who came to America in search of personal freedom through hard work and education, and just sheer grit. I was able to pull myself from having nothing to achieving the American dream. I'm running as a Republican because personal freedom to me means that a person should have the choice as to what he or she would like to do with their lives, and not the government. And I think this country is going in the direction where more power is given to the government in form of taxation and legislation, and I think we need to start changing our focus from that, and we should think of being free to choose to go to a college or a university, not free to receive free tuition, which to me that's a lie. It's subsidized. It's only free if someone doesn't charge you for it. And so I think we need to be more educated in how we move forward with our political establishment ideas. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and I will turn over closing remarks to Dee.
Thank you to the candidate for participating in tonight's forum. TN for making this program possible. These forums will be rebroadcast on Channel 19 a number of times between now and the election on August 7th. These forums are also available on demand for streaming on your computer or smartphone. Just go to our website, lwvannarbor.org, and look for the link to the programs. For additional balanced, nonpartisan information on candidates and ballot issues, go to vote411.org and enter your address. There you will find information on the candidates and ballot proposals that will appear on your ballot. Be sure to vote on Tuesday, August 7th. And good night.